I'm S.J. Peters, Executive Director of the PCA, Plumbing Council, and Pam Caney. I'm here in studio with Bill Heffernan for an informative three-segment conversation about the Employee Assistance Program for our signatory contractors and their non-bargain staff, and also the Members Assistance Program, also known as MAP, for union members. In our case, the union members belong to Plumbers Local 130 UA. Founded in 1993 by Gary Cohen, LCSW, CEAP, and Bill Heffernan, MS, CEAP. Employee Resource Systems, Inc., or ERS, is a national provider of integrated employee member assistance programs, comprehensive training and consultation services, work-life services, and drug-free workplace policy development. Based in Chicago, ERS provides services to companies that are engaged in healthcare, insurance, real estate, legal services, financial services, municipal government, manufacturing, transportation, construction, and labor unions. So I'd like to welcome Bill to our first of three segments. First, could you please briefly explain what all the letters after both your and co-founder Gary's names mean? I realize they stand for degrees that you both earned in the study of mental health and professional counseling. Let's start with the LCSW and the CEAP for Gary.
Okay. Well, in our office, in the people who provide services to Local 130 members, Gary, myself, and the other staff all have master's degree in a human services discipline. So Gary happens to be a social worker. My master's degree is in rehabilitation counseling. Gary has a professional designation of LCSW, which is a licensed clinical social worker. We both hold the designation of certified employee assistance professional. All the counselors in our office have a master's degree in a human services discipline. Some of them are LCSWs, some of them are licensed clinical professional counselors. But everyone in our office who serves the members of Local 130 and the contractors and the contractor employees are licensed mental health professionals.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Next, for you, I believe the MS you said is a Master of Science designation, and probably the most familiar connection that our contractors have with Local 130, it does relate to the Drug-Free Alliance, which, as is stated in the Local 130 Collective Bargaining Agreement, is administered by ScreenSave, Inc. We're going to talk about the many other services and benefits that are available through ERS, but let's begin with you telling us about the random and mandatory drug testing program and how an individual could be referred to ERS as a result of that program.
Anytime a member of the local is non-compliant with the program that's in place, that's currently administered by ScreenSave, ScreenSave notifies us via fax that they're going to be referring a member to us. At the same time, they call the member and let the member know that he or she is non-compliant with the program and they need to contact the assistance program. When that member calls us, we do an initial intake over the phone. We talk with them about their situation, and then we see everybody who's been non-compliant with the program in person to do an evaluation. We see some of the people in our office downtown, and we see some people at a location that's more convenient to them near their home. It just depends on the circumstances and the speed at which the person wants to get back to work.
I see. And I'd like to emphasize that the aim of the Drug-Free Alliance is not to catch and punish, but rather to identify a problem and provide help. Can you elaborate on that premise for a moment?
For most of the people, for many of the people who come to the assistance program, the problem they have isn't so severe that they can't get the help they need and get into recovery. In all the programs we work with, because we work with many labor unions that have random drug testing programs, there's a small proportion of the population that tends to repeat. But for most people, we do our evaluation. For many, all they need is a little bit of education, so we refer them to an educational program. For some people, they may need outpatient counseling. For others, they may need a more intensive level of intervention, maybe an intensive outpatient program or a partial hospitalization program. But for the vast majority of people, those levels of care aren't necessary. When someone has a hard time getting through the education or the counseling program without returning to using, in those situations, based on their experience, they may require a higher level of intervention.
Thank you. Bill, one aspect that I'd like to explore with you is what exactly does noncompliance mean? Could you explain that to me?
That's a great question, because one of the things that happens is when someone's referred because of noncompliance, we really encourage people to be very cautious not to assume that someone has tested positive or they have a drug or alcohol problem. Someone can be non-compliant because they didn't go to take their tests in time. They can be non-compliant because they went to the clinic and they couldn't provide a sample. They could be non-compliant because maybe they provided a sample and there was suspicion about the sample. We've had people go in and the water in the toilets are blued.
Mm-hmm.
It's blued so that you can't use it. But people sometimes scoop out some
Right.
water from the toilet and use that. And really, the only way you're going to get a blue urine sample is if you're a Smurf. And I'm not sure if there are any who are
Right.
working in the trades.
Right.
So there are a lot of reasons people can be non-compliant. It's really important that the contractors and everyone around someone who's non-compliant not assume that they have a drug and alcohol problem, because it really could be an honest mistake. I am part of a random drug testing pool because of my involvement with the testing programs, and I have had occasions where I was sent for a test. I get the call, I get the information, you need to go for a test, you have to go by the end of the next business day. And I can remember going to my daughter's lacrosse game and realizing halfway through the game that I had forgotten to go for a test. It's 6 o'clock on a Friday night, and I'm scampering to find a collection site that's open so that I'm not in violation and I don't have to refer myself to one of my counselors for an evaluation.
Right.
So there are a lot of reasons someone could be non-compliant. And I, by the way, did get to the collection site in time.
Right, and that is the other thing I'd like to clarify on the drug testing is if you do go in and leave a sample and you dispute the results of that sample, that the sample that you have left is divided in two, and the same sample that you had originally is going to be tested a second time.
Right. I actually took it upon myself a couple of years to go out and visit the Quest Diagnostic Lab and watch the process. Mm-hmm. And it's an amazing process, because when the samples come in, every activity related to those samples is videotaped and archived. So if there's any questions about how the sample was handled, any of the information related to that sample, they can pull up the video and show you everything that happened, whoever touched and how that sample was touched. What's really important for the members to know, and anyone who is subject to drug testing, is that when you go in to give your sample, you need to make sure that you don't leave the sample until you've seen the collection personnel put the cover on it, put the tape over the top and down the sides.
Gotcha.
Because you want to make sure that nothing could happen to that sample that you haven't, you want to just make sure that it's your sample and it's protected. So you should never leave the collection site until the person has sealed the sample, put the tape over the top, down the sides, and that your barcode is on the side of it. That's just for your protection.
Makes sense.
It's kind of like handing someone a bunch of money and saying, put this over there. You want to watch them put it over there.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We're going to conclude the first segment, and we'll be back with Bill Heffernan for segment 2. Thank you.